guys, in typical Stephanie fashion, Hickory Croft Farm, pantry living, however you want to absorb our content, we have a freezer challenge video that has been started and progressed multiple times, but yet has not made it to YouTube. But I didn't want to avoid posting that content for you guys because it is important and we've really been trying here to empty those freezers. So follow along here and pay attention because it covers about a month of time, but we're gonna get into it. Well guys, guess what? There was the sale of the century in my mind on frozen fruit at No Frills this week. And of course, in typical Stephanie and Chris fashion, we picked up a lot. I mean, 12 bags of all fruit that we don't produce here on the homestead. And now we've hit a snag, and I'm going to talk to you about that. And here is the dilemma. There is no freezer space. We've already put what we could squeeze in the upstairs freezer, including the freezer above the fridge. And now we still have like 8 bags that need to get into this freezer. So I think it is officially time to start our freezer challenge because as you can see, this freezer is full. As we've crept into having 4 freezers now, I always have that mindset of let's get stuff out of the freezer so we can shut at least one off before the next growing season starts again. And I am in this same predicament again this year as I was last year and the year before that and the year before that. So in order to get this fruit into the freezer, we're going to start off this freezer challenge for 2024 with taking out a whole bunch of lamb roasts and making ourselves some canned lamb meat. So buried deep in the depths here beneath all this fresh fruit and tomatoes that we've managed to put away from our own harvest this winter is our lamb roasts. I'm looking for some leg lamb roasts to start chopping up into little diced cubes in order to pressure can. So we've got to take everything out that's on top in order to find the stuff that's at the bottom. And that is always the fun part, dealing with Jenga in the freezer. So the one thing that's always terrible about having to do this is things like fruit. We don't want them to unthaw because then they'll all end up stuck together. And that's what we tried to prevent in the first place by flash freezing them. And it seems like we've managed to collect a lot of cranberries. But cranberries are great for a diabetic. Oh my goodness. We have so much fruit. This is wild. There are 3 more bags of raspberries I can see right here. 3 more. And that's before I even get down to the roasts. So we have really done better than even I thought with putting fruit away this year. All right, so we managed to find a bag of roasts, but it's lamb loin roasts. And I really want the leg roast, so we got to keep digging. I thought we were there, but look, it still says loin roasts. So I guess it's in that bag down there. Got to move the rest of the berries. So now that I can see the bottom of the freezer, we took out a bag that was actually leg of lamb. I'm going to make a huge pile of all of our red raspberries because there's so many bags of them. I'll just make sure they go right to the bottom and I don't have to worry about what's underneath them. All right, so it is not organized. It doesn't look pretty, but they are all in here. So that's a good thing. I can close the lid and still not need to put any weight on top, which is also a good thing. So I'm gonna take these 8 leg roasts. We're gonna defrost them and we're gonna get busy on this challenge starting probably not tomorrow because it'll take them 2 days to unthaw, but starting on Thursday. Well, guys, Freezer Challenge 2024 is about to begin in full force. And why is that? Well, my dilapidated shed here has become even more dilapidated. Let's take a look. In the grand scheme of things, our plan is to eventually replace this shed, but I'm bracing myself right now on our 4th freezer just in case I fall through the floor because it's going. There's a hole in the wall behind the freezer you can see here, so that's going. And the most recent predicament is a tree fell on it and fell through the roof. So I think it is time. We need to get this freezer out of here before something really bad happens. Whether it blows up because it's exposed to the elements or somebody gets hurt coming in here and the building collapses, who knows? So our plan is for temporary, I know I say this a lot, we're going to get this moved to the barn. And if we're going to move it, that means we need to empty it. So now that the tree is no longer in the roof, and we can move on. It is time to take a look at what's in this freezer and see what we can get maybe used up before we have to remove everything from it. I know there's a lot of staples that we just kind of threw in here because we didn't need them right away. So let's take a look. I'm always so worried I'm going to fall through the floor in here. Okay, so upon first glance, we have a lot of tomatoes, which I knew were in here. I didn't need to open the lid to know that. So my plan is we're going to get 24 pounds out of here to use for making some butter chicken, because there's no butter chicken left on the shelves. We have used it all, and I made 50 some jars last year. So I got to get cracking on this, and that is why I put so many tomatoes away. So each one of these bags, 6 pounds. So we're going to get 4 bags out of here, and then we're going to take a look and see if we can see any light at the end of the tunnel. Brought out my shopping bag. To be honest, what I should have brought was some mittens. This is cold work. 12. Ooh, this is cold. 18. 24 pounds of tomatoes. You guys are never going to guess what I just found in here. If you watched my video from last week, you will know how frustrating this is going to be for me right now. Can you guess what those are? Yes. Those are the garlic scapes. I would have sworn they were in the house freezer, but they were out here. Go figure. Well, the nice thing is finding those scapes. If I find corn, I'm going to make another round with the rest of those peppers. So I'll use the fresh scapes instead, well, the frozen fresh instead of the dried ones. So hopefully, if we keep digging on some freezers in the house, we will find some more corn as well. But we're going to get these 24 pounds of tomatoes in. What we're left with out here is a lot of meat and peppers, a lot of peppers, and more tomatoes. More tomatoes indeed. I do want to do a second round of butter chicken, so I'm glad there is a lot of tomatoes still in here. I see just off the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 bags. 6 bags. So I've got enough for one more, and I'm pretty sure there's some tomatoes in the house too. So I'd really love to do up 3 batches of butter chicken, and then I'll be happy for the rest of the year. Well, we have our tomatoes in and we've got them defrosted. And I want to take this moment to just tell you how much I absolutely love. Again, my cat needs in. It always happens when we're filming. I'll be back. Only because it's very obvious on the filming. Her scratching. Ivy, you bad cat.
What'd
She
you do?
just ran away. All right, so we've got our tomatoes in, defrosted, and I wanted to take this moment before we plunged into making the butter chicken. I like how I say we, like you're right here and we're going to do it together, to talk about why I love freezing tomatoes ahead of time, especially for paste, sauces, barbecue sauce, ketchup, any of those things that you have cook down time. It is amazing how much time it saves you taking the moisture out this way, and I'm going to show you here in a sec. So I'm going to start with this bowl of the tomatoes because I've reused these bags a few times. That's the one thing I will say that's really nice about these plastic bags. You can reuse them. And we obviously had a few holes because there's a lot of moisture in the bottom of the bowl already, and I haven't even tried to tip it out. So I'm going to start my demonstration with these, with just how much water comes out. Well, it's probably got a little bit of juice factor, but not enough that I am worried about losing it. And basically, all I do is kind of pick it up and tip. Oh, try not to make a mess. Look at the water coming out of these. Tomatoes have so much water in them, and when you're trying to make pastes and sauces, it is really nice to get a good majority of it out first before we get to having to cook it down. The one thing I will say, though, is pre-weigh your tomatoes so you know. I've got 24 pounds here, which is perfect for my batch of butter chicken sauce. And Chris is hard at work grinding all these tomatoes down for me. Again, I will say it, every canner really needs to have a food mill. It is amazing all the things that we do with this. Tomatoes the main one, but great for applesauce and all sorts of good things. Well, thanks to Christopher's wonderful hard work, we have all of our tomatoes in the pot. I've put in all the spices, and the only thing left to be added is my onions and garlic, which I got to fry up first. But it's getting late. I'm not going to get this finished today, so we're just going to put this in the fridge for tonight as it is. Marinate those spices in there because it can only get better tasting. And we'll come back to this in the morning and get it all jarred up. Nothing like putting on the pressure of canning at Christmas time. Well, guys, we're on to the next day of trying to do this freezer challenge video. And before we get into making that butter chicken and canning it, we need to get our turkey out of the oven because we have 2 days till Christmas dinner and it's going to take 2 days. Did I say the oven? I mean the freezer, of course, because it's a freezer challenge, not an oven challenge. We need to get the, oh my goodness, we need to get the turkey out of the freezer so that it has time to defrost before we cook it. And we're also going to get a lamb roast out. So this is the best time of year to do a freezer challenge because we're going to be taking quite a few big things out of the freezer. So it's basically in the same state as it was before. But you can see I'm actually carrying containers down because we butchered the last of our rabbits for 2024. And I've got some containers of rabbit meat here that need a home in the freezer. So we remove to put back in. Let's get this turkey out. So you can see right here, I'm about halfway down the freezer and these piles go all the way to the bottom with raspberries and blackberries. So I think one of the simple things that we could do to tackle some space in this freezer is we're going to make some syrups and sauces with that juicer that I bought, the steam juicer. So after Christmas dinner, that's where we're going to pick right back up, is making some goodies out of this fruit and freeing up some more space, hopefully, in this freezer to empty the outside freezer to get everything in and get that one turned off. Well, we did get that butter chicken all finished up. I didn't film an end to the video at all, so here we go now. We got those garlic and onions all fried up. We got it in and we ended up with 9 jars, a couple of them actually being a 750 ml, which is nice. So moving forward, we really need to get going on the next rounds of those because like I mentioned when I was in the dilapidated shed, I want to get 2 more batches done because we went through 50 jars for 2024. That information is coming in a video soon. So I definitely think the freezer challenge is underway. It has a lot more work to do. That freezer has not been moved or emptied or anything yet because that is how we roll. So stay tuned. We're actually going to combine the freezer challenge and the pantry challenges for the month of January and probably into February just to keep it simple. Those videos are vlog style and they're going to just contain everything that we are doing around the homestead to keep preserving food, keep eating food, and basically just trying to enjoy some downtime.